Welcome to my How Healthy Are You weekly educational podcast. My name is Dr. Thomas Brewer. I'm a PhD chemist and a nutritional blood microscopist. We didn't have a call last week, so it feels good to get back to the routine. I was traveling last week to Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. So it feels good to be back. And interestingly, the weather was quite cold in the South while I was away. So I have a few questions to go over for today's call. The first one was quite timely because I was traveling and I got to see what other parts of the country are doing with respect to masks and the fear level for the COVID-19. The second question is about pregnancy and being able to use the products if you're pregnant. And the third is about colitis, which, what do you do if you have anything like colitis? So first one is about masks and vaccine. A lot of people have been asking me what my take is, not that my take is more relevant than someone else's opinion on COVID-19 and wearing masks and everything that's been going on in the world for the past year or so. One thing that I noticed, the people that wore masks really varied in between cities. So I was in one city where there was essentially almost no mask wearing at all, including the police department. It was amazing. And I was in other places where it was required. I was on airline flights that allowed people to keep the mask below their nose and even to take it off completely when you're eating. I was on other flights where the mask had to be over your nose and mouth. If they caught you with it, let's say under your nose, you got one warning. The second warning, supposedly you were written up to the FAA, and I don't know what that means, and I don't know what the punishment is, but it sure was scary, somewhat draconian, almost like fascist Gestapo-type tactics, but well, that's probably what they have to do, and they may be forced to do something like that in order to keep flying. They also had some strange protocols where if you're eating, you lower the mask, take a bite, and then raise the mask back up. And so it really runs the whole gamut of extremes. And so the question was about what I think about vaccines and mask wearing. And I'll start with the mask wearing. Dr. Fauci said it best last year, so I think it was around last March, last April. He said absolutely there's no need to wear a mask during this pandemic or any pandemic. The virus particles are so small that they'll pass right through a mask. The only advantage you'll have wearing a mask is it'll trap some water droplets coming out of your nose and mouth. But other than that, no need to wear a mask. Boy, did that change, because that was based on science. And once the politicians got a hold of it, wearing masks had nothing to do with science. So I'm a scientist, and I believe exactly what he said last year before he got in trouble for telling scientific truth, and he had to then change his model and make sure it abided by the party line, which was not only to wear one mask, but perhaps two and maybe even three masks, just like the shavers, the different blades. One blade on the shaver is not good enough, so use two blades. One pulls the whisker, the other one cuts it. No, we need 3 blades, we need 4 blades, we need 5 blades. So I don't know where this is going with the mask, but there's no scientific basis behind it, and that's where I stand, and I actually agree with Dr. Fauci when he was talking science, not politics. Now, as far as vaccines, I talked about this last year, but it's been a while since I talked about vaccines, and it's always a scary topic to talk about. So first, the vaccines that are out there are not vaccines. They are shots. They're supposed to be vaccines. They're supposed to vaccinate you from acquiring the COVID-19, but all they do is allow your immune system to help you survive if you contract COVID-19. It's very similar to having strong and active white blood cells, so I encourage people just to take their Steromax 3 a day on a regular basis, and if you want to eat citrus for vitamin C, good idea. If you want to supplement with zinc or eat pumpkin seeds, good idea. But you want your immune system very strong and active. So part of that entails getting enough sleep, whatever's right for your body, and relaxing. Calm down, breathe, learn how to do any sort of focused breathing. Even if you just think about your breaths, that is focused breathing. And all of this will increase your immune system activity, and that's what we want to do. We want our immune systems to be functioning properly. We don't want to think that we have these immune systems that are so active that they're attacking us. That's just a fallacy. That's not what it's all about, and I can talk about that topic another time. But any immune-related illnesses that are blamed on having an overactive immune system and the immune system attacking you, that's really not what's going on. But it's a good diagnosis to make some money, but it's really not how the body functions. So we want a strong and active immune system so it can protect us from viruses and bacteria and even all the way up to cancer. The shots that are available do that. They're more targeted toward COVID-19, which really makes no sense to me, because why wouldn't you just want your immune system to be resistant to every virus, not just one particular virus? Because now you'll have to keep getting so-called vaccines for every different strain of COVID-19 and all the variants, and we have to live in fear and wear masks. So it's a bad game going on there, and it all started with health, and it delved into politics very quickly. So I'm coming at this from the side of science. The reason these shots are not vaccines is if you were to get the polio vaccine or the mumps or rubella vaccine, you would not contract the illness. You would not get mumps or polio or rubella. But this so-called vaccine is not a vaccine because you can still get COVID-19. It's just that you'll survive it. You'll survive it just fine, assuming you survive the shot, because the shot has a lot of side effects, and the side effects are somewhat scary because they go all the way up to death, anaphylactic shock. I don't understand why people are putting up with this, but they are, and more people are getting shots, and eventually we may all be forced to get shots. And then we're really in trouble. But, yeah, I'm not a big fan of vaccines, even if they are a vaccine, and what we're being offered isn't even a vaccine. It really allows our immune system to fight off the COVID-19 virus. Well, we can do that with a strong and active immune system. Okay, so enough said there. I wanted to add, if someone thinks they've contracted any virus, any cold or flu, please use about a tablespoon of colloidal silver in a neti pot, and then the rest of the neti pot would have the saline solution, and run that through your nose. You can also gargle with colloidal silver neat, 100%. And the other thing you can do is put about 1 ounce of colloidal silver per gallon of water in a humidifier. So that's one way to destroy a virus, is to utilize colloidal silver. It's always best to have a strong and active immune system, but bad things happen, and no matter how great your immune system is, you can still catch a cold or flu. So that's where the colloidal silver comes in. The long-term prevention is through the Steromax and the zinc and the vitamin C and the proper sleep and the proper breathing techniques, anything that allows your physical and emotional and spiritual health to be high. That's what's going to make your immune system strong. Okay, the second question was about various products that make a note that you're not supposed to take them when you're pregnant. And what happens here is in the pharmaceutical industry, a lot of products are designed for pregnant women. And in the nutritional supplement industry, they would have to jump through the same hoops, spend a lot of money on research and a lot of testing protocols in order to get this designation that the product's safe for pregnant and lactating women. Well, it turns out the Enriching Gifts products are great, not only okay to take, they are recommended for pregnant or lactating women, but the company did not jump through the hoops to get that designation. So I know the question was about that. Specifically, the plant enzymes is one of the greatest gifts you could give your unborn child, and also the probiotics. And I would say pretty much every single probiotic product out there would be good to take while pregnant, because those good, healthy probiotic bacteria will pass to the baby. The enzymes are just phenomenal, because that's really what allows the baby to develop, is these catalysts known as enzymes. And those will pass to the baby and keep the mother healthy and able to digest food and metabolize the nutrients. And when the nutrients are metabolized, then they can pass to the baby. So, but all of the products are fine if you're pregnant or lactating, at least the Enriching Gifts products. And the products that aren't fine are the ones that have excess fillers and binders and the stimulants that are in certain products. So those are the ones to stay away from. But your true supplements that are based on scientific research are really good for everyone. But we have this designation in the country, anything to protect infants, well, at some level, and that's what's happening with this designation. Whether a supplement has the designation or doesn't, it all depends on how much money they spent to get that designation. But read the label, make sure there's no stimulants or anything in there that you wouldn't want to take anyway. But vitamins and minerals and enzymes and probiotics and antioxidants, these are all good things for everyone. Okay, and the final question is how to get rid of colitis. And colitis falls into the same range of problems as irritable bowel disease, IBD, ulcerative colitis. So they're all similar diseases and problems. I have photos of them on the wall right near my microscope in my office. And there's three things you would want to do. And the other one that's in there is Crohn's. So a couple things you'd want to do. Number one, you're going to want to take enzymes so that your food is well digested when it gets down to the colon or in the intestines. The second thing is you'll want to take something called Aloe Ace Max. So this is another Enriching Gifts product. It's very specialized. So this product is good for people with diabetes, people with arthritis, but it's also good anytime there's an internal wound, and that's what ulcerative colitis and irritable bowel disease and Crohn's, they're all a sore on the inside of the intestines or the colon. So we need to do healing on the inside, and that's tricky. Normally if there's a sore, you see it on your skin, and you put some sort of ointment on there and put a Band-Aid and you watch it heal. But on the inside, it's tricky because it's always exposed to bacteria. And the Aloe Ace Max is designed to accelerate healing. So it'll work great for ulcerative colitis and IBD. And the third thing is to keep the parasitic or bad bacteria at bay while all this is going on, and that's why you would take probiotics. So you take enzymes so that your food digests well when it gets to the colon. You want to heal the area with the Aloe Ace Max, a very specialized product, but you also want to keep the bad bacteria at a reduced level, and that's done with the probiotics. So you do those three, you'll heal from colitis and Crohn's and irritable bowel disease. They look slightly different as far as the various diagrams. Another one is diverticulitis, when the diverticuli get inflamed. The old adage was not to eat nuts because nuts will inflame anything like this. But it turns out that's not true. As long as you're digesting the nuts and you chew them, you're fine. Any food will irritate a sore in your intestines or colon. So you want to eat nuts that have been roasted versus raw because it's going to be harder to digest and metabolize raw nuts, and that's true for everyone. But once the nut is roasted, the enzyme inhibitor has been broken down, and you can digest and metabolize it. So it used to be you weren't supposed to eat nuts if you had Crohn's or colitis or irritable bowel disease or diverticulitis, but that's really not a factor once people realize some of the patients were eating nuts, and it didn't matter. Their colitis would come and go, and it really didn't matter whether they ate nuts or not. But you can heal it, and a big part of the healing is the Aloe Ace Max. And the amount that you take, that's always a big question. With the Aloe Ace Max, it's going to be about 1 to 2 per meal, and it even works better if you can remember to take it between meals. But if you forget to take it between meals, then just take it with meals. And that's a common question with the Aloe Ace Max. When do I take it? Well, preferably between meals, but if you forget and you're constantly forgetting, then just take it with meals. Take it with the enzyme. So you take the enzymes at the beginning of the meal, the probiotics at the beginning of the meal. The only thing you don't take at the beginning of a meal is the Steromax. You try to take that about 30 minutes prior to your first meal of the day. So that's what I have for this evening's podcast. I wanted to remind everyone that the Las Vegas office no longer has the Enriching Gifts amino acids. We do have another amino acid, so call me for details on that. If you're interested in getting amino acids from this point forward, we just sold the last 6 bottles today, and we won't be getting any more. In fact, the product's been discontinued by Enriching Gifts, and what is still available is a product that had an expiration in January of this year. So the product's actually still good for another year because the date was shown to only be 2 years when it should have been 3 years. But the product's been discontinued. So I won't be getting any more of the Enriching Gifts aminos. It's a real good product. But I have an alternative, and it's a powder, not a capsule. One thing people were complaining about was they had to take 6 of these capsules a day. Well, that's because with amino acids, you normally use a scoop, so that you just convert a scoop to 6 capsules. So now with this other product, you just use the scoop, and it's a powder, and you put it in a liquid. And amino acids are quite good for those of you that don't eat a lot of animal-based protein. So this is really good for the vegans out there. If you're vegetarian and still eating eggs, you may or may not need amino acids. But the full vegans typically will need amino acids. So I will be doing another podcast next week. As always, thanks for listening, and please don't keep me a secret.